morning and welcome to the semi-finals of the EIT Health Catapult. My name is Annemarie van Kampen and today I have the wonderful job of guiding you through the program. Over the next 3 days, you will meet the elite of European healthcare startups. The EIT Health Catapult program supports the development of the most promising European healthcare startups through training and competition. Now, for the last weeks, 42 disruptive startups in biotech, medtech, and digital health have been working hard and have received high-quality training in areas like business modeling, investment strategies, and of course, pitch training. I want to congratulate all the teams who are joining us today for making it to these semi-finals. It really is an amazing accomplishment on which you can be very, very proud. And I cannot wait for you, our viewers, the audience, to meet them all today. Now, we are joined by over 650 people from all over Europe. And I want to say a big thank you to you as well for joining us here today. This semi-final is an excellent opportunity to gain access to some of the most exciting healthcare startups in Europe. They're keen to meet you all, and they're looking for strong partnerships to take their next steps forward. Our journey together will last over 3 days, and I invite you all to join us on that trip. Now, let's take a look at the program for today. It will be an exciting mix of 14 different startup pitches, and each semi-finalist has 5 minutes to present their pitch, and we will be very strict about those 5 minutes. And then, after those 5 minutes, 5 more minutes, but then for the jury to ask questions. During the day, we have incorporated short but inspiring keynotes just to share some insights into the diverse range of healthcare innovations that's going on right now. Of course, there's also a full hour networking opportunity to connect with investors, the other delegates, and of course, the startups. Please join our matchmaking platform to make sure that you have your meetings scheduled. Today, those will be between 3:30 and 4:30 in the afternoon, or for any of the following days. It's also good to know that the matchmaking platform will stay open the next Monday and Tuesday of next week. Then, of course, at 5 p.m., we will announce the winners during our awards ceremony. You will know who will be the finalists for December and also who have won our sponsor awards. Of course, there's plenty of time for breaks, just to stretch your legs, get some food and drink, or maybe get some fresh air throughout the day. Now, before I introduce our jury to you, I would like to present our partners of the day. Of course, EIT Health, Cap Digital, the Catapult co-leading partner, Medical Valley, and the supporting non-profit network, BioRN. Of course, as well, an incredible thank you to our year's sponsors who made today and the awards possible. First of all, Amazon Web Services, L3S Partnership and Vries Group, LallianSe, and McDermott, Will, and Emery. We will discover more about the awards later during the day. Now, I would like to welcome our international jury. Our jury has a background in renowned institutions and has a mix of expertise in venture capital, equity investment, and the technological sector. They have the enormous task on deciding who will be our finalists in December and who will win our sponsor awards. To do so, they will look at different criteria like the level of innovation, impact, investment potential, and market opportunity. Let's get to know them a little bit better. And I would like to start with Cem Baydar. Cem, welcome this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cem Baydar. I'm based in London and currently working for IQVIA, one of the largest professional services companies for life sciences in the world, as the head of their portfolio strategy practice in consulting, and where I continues to work with pharma and investors on identifying areas and assets on where to invest. And I'm happy to be here and look forward to the discussions and seeing the companies and evaluating them. Thank you.
And then we'll move on to Killian King.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Killian King. I have a background in molecular biology and a PhD in neuroscience. I work as investment manager at Swanbridge Capital, which is a Dutch venture capital firm focused on life sciences exclusively. We invest in biotech, medtech, and diagnostics.
Thank you so much, Killian. Laura.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Laura Sauczek, and I'm co-founder and chief executive officer of Peptomic, which is a spin-off company of the Vall d'Hebron Institute of Oncology and of the Catalan Institute of Research and Advanced Studies in Barcelona. We develop mini proteins for the treatment of cancer patients, and I'm very excited to be here today and looking forward to listening to the great pitches here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much as well. And we go on to Eric Garnier.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Eric Garnier. I have an experience in life sciences of more than 30 years, working for US multinationals, namely Bristol Myers Squibb and Danaher, first in finance and then in general management, and including 12 years of expatriation in the UK, in Singapore, and in Boston. Today, I work as a consultant, and I'm also part of the board of Angel Santé, a French association of business angels. And I'm very pleased to be here today and looking forward to this fantastic event. Thank you.
Thank you so much and welcome, Eric. Our next juror is not in the call today, so we'll move on to Christoph.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Christoph Massner. I have a background in science also. I have a PhD in synthetic biology for neuroscience, and I work for Early Bird Venture Capital. We're a classical venture capital firm based in Berlin. We have been around for more than 20 years, and I'm working there in the Life Science Fund, and we're investing across healthcare with a very strong focus on patient outcome. And I'm very happy to be here. Thanks a lot.
Welcome, Christoph. Nice to have you here today as well. And last but not least, Morten.
Good morning, everybody. My name is, I'll kick off my video here. Good morning, everybody. My name is Morten Jensen. I am the founder and CEO of Copenhagen Bioscience Park. We are the largest cluster organizations in the Nordics, hosting around 600 startup companies within a variety of different fields, running incubation, acceleration programs, and also venture capital activities. And I'm happy to be part of the jury as well. So looking forward to an exciting day.
Okay, thank you so much. And good luck on the giant task that is ahead of you. For anyone who wants to share their experience, maybe photos, please do so on social media. We have a hashtag. It's Health Catapult, of course. The hashtag is Health Catapult. Now, and to connect with the amazing semi-finalists, with investors and the delegates, please use our networking platform. I would like to point out a few practical things. We are broadcasting a live stream. That means that if you close the page, you will also lose the live stream. Should that happen, just simply re-click on the link that has been sent to you through email. A little trick to have the optimum viewing experience is to make sure that you're on full screen. You can use the little icon in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, if you want to pause or play, it can happen. Click in the video window. Should it happen and should it pause, simply click again and it will continue playing. To optimize your networking activities later this afternoon, we urge you to use the Chrome browser for your video calls. Should there be any technical difficulty or do you have any questions, please email at eitcatapult2020@ashfieldhealthcare.com or simply reply to the email that you received in your inbox. Now, without any further ado, I would like to give the word to Kurt Höller. He's the Director of Business Creation in EIT Health, and he will be joined by Anna Badurska of Cap Digital, the Catapult leader. Kurt, welcome this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Annemarie, and welcome to everyone. Super proud that this year's European Health Catapult semifinals have now started. I'd like to give you a few insights on the EIT Health as such, the EIT Health Accelerator, and why the Catapult is so special for us. So EIT Health in general has three main goals: strengthening healthcare systems in Europe, promoting better health of citizens, and contributing to a sustainable health economy in Europe. And for the latter one, I'm absolutely convinced we need great startups to drive innovation and to have also economic impact. EIT Health is present all over Europe. You can see here in the green green marked cities, that's where our regional offices, our co-location centers are placed, and even the purple ones are covered by EIT Health. The yellow dot is our headquarters in Munich. On the next slide, if I manage to get there, yes. I'd like to just highlight a few numbers. We have so many industry partners. We have the strongest universities in Europe. We have healthcare providers, research institutions, but even pairs in our network, incubators and clusters, especially here in that competition and cities and regions. If you look a bit more, if you zoom a bit more in, then you will see that 6 out of the top 10 global pharma and medtech companies are part of EIT Health. And also 3 of the top 10 global accelerators are with us. In the Reuters Innovation Ranking, you will see that all top 5 and almost 50% of the top 25 universities are part of our network. So this is a great community to be in. If you look to those logos, you certainly will see a few of them that seem very familiar. And I can tell you, there is no better way to get in touch with all the important healthcare players than through our network. We have proven also in the COVID-19 pandemics that our network is strong. We have provided a community response, so we have kind of listed all the activities that our partners have performed to interact and to support solutions against COVID-19. We ourselves have contributed to make connections between those that had offers and those that needed support. Our alumni network has kicked off many activities. With rapid response, we have spent many million euros in new projects to fight the pandemics. And even our Head Start program, which is running for many years now, we have dedicated more than 1 million euro to COVID-19 solutions. And last but not least, we even had a solution that helps to the rescue instrument that helps startups that were currently fundraising to close their financing rounds, even if they couldn't continue as they had planned due to the pandemics. Now let me have a look into the accelerator program as such that I'm leading as a director of business creation at EIT Health. And here on the picture, you see one of the previous winners of the European Health Catapult, Dike van Gorp with Frederik, and I'm super proud that also Laura Suchek is part of the jury. One of my first success stories from the year 2016 of that business plan competition. We have spent so much time together since then. So you really can see that's a community that is growing and that really lives from personal relationships. If you look into the accelerator numbers, we managed to support our startups in a way that they have attracted almost 250 million euro till the end of 2019. Now in 2020, that certainly has been even more. 87 products and services have been placed on the market. We have supported till end of 2019 more than 750 startups. In the meantime, that certainly has gotten more. And last year, we have been awarded as one of the 2 most promising young accelerator programs worldwide by the global UBI ranking. So that was a great recognition for EIT Hub. Now, what do we do with our startups? Do we only focus on late stage or do we only support very early stage? No. We have a full accelerator supply chain where we take entrepreneurs or innovators that want to get entrepreneurs with their first innovative ideas coming out of universities. So that's the incubation phase. And then we lift them to the scale-up phase. And of course, we are open. Whoever wants to join only in that scale-up phase is also highly welcome. European Health Catapult is placed exactly there. In the scale-up phase, we make our startups visible. We provide them with additional funding, prize money, etc. And then in the scale-out phase, we help them to enter European markets, global markets, and to really grow outside their markets that they have already entered. And throughout that whole pipeline, you always have to validate. You have to validate your first ideas, but you also have to validate your new markets that you want to enter. So the validation activity line is kind of in parallel to all those other activities. Across the whole organization of EIT Health, we have 4 main items that we want to target. We want to provide all our partners, all our startups and everyone in our community access to knowledge, access to stakeholders, access to market, and access to finance. So that's across the whole organization. But of course, that's very true for the EIT Health Accelerator as such. If we talk about access to stakeholders, just last week, we have announced the winners of our Global Healthy Longevity Grant Challenge that was initiated by the National Academy of Medicine of the United States. So a huge, powerful, deeply scientific, but also very recognized organization. And they have chosen EIT Health as the European counterpart to implement that grand challenge in Europe. That also shows you how great the network is and how great the recognition of EIT Health is worldwide. If we look to access to expertise, then access to market, then we have 2 very, very interesting programs. I cannot go into every program that we have at EIT Health, but these are 2 great examples. Access to expertise, our mentoring coaching network provides you access to almost 400 mentors in all different areas of expertise that you need to go to and where you need support. We have a great connecting system. So if you need a certain expertise, you can go into that network and you will find the right mentor. If we look to access to markets, I told you in our scale out activity, we want to support companies that are already successful in their markets and now have to grow and want to expand. Bridgehead is a powerful and wonderful flagship program where we connect all the startups that we have identified that are very well positioned and that now are ready to expand. We connect them to we call them catalyzers, that's clusters, accelerators, and incubators within our network. So another powerful tool where startups don't have to look themselves and start to look into countries with whom they could collaborate. We establish that network and we establish that collaboration opportunities for the startups so that they can concentrate on interacting with experts on regulatory, on reimbursement, on IP, on marketing, on healthcare delivery in those target markets, so they get the full support that they need to enter that market. Financing. All of you guys, all the startups that have made it into the EIT Health Catapult semifinals have already attracted some funding, at least 500,000 euro, and should be also fundraising right now for the next seed round or Series A. And we support many instruments to also take the next steps. We have created our own crowdfunding platform that helps to attract investments from all over Europe. We have an investor network with investor roundtables in all our regions, in all our co-location centers of EIT Health. Yesterday, we had an amazing meeting with the CEO of the European Investment Fund and many team members of the mandate management team within EIF. EIF is a huge institution. They are the most powerful co-investment institution, co-investing also with many of the funds and VCs that you have in the jury. And yesterday we took the 3 hours discussion to outline also to the other knowledge and innovation communities, to our partners within the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, to outline how successful we have established the Venture Center of Excellence. So this Venture Center of Excellence is built to have investments starting from 15 million euro up to 65 million euro. That is done through co-investments together with corporate investors. So as you know, we have a great corporate network, and most of those global players have also investment arms, VC arms. And our idea was to make sure that they don't only invest into US companies, but that they also invest into European companies. So our corporate investors team up with private VCs that are supported and that collaborate with EIF, and together they invest into our EIT Health startups. And I have mentioned that on parallel to those three major access to finance instruments, we have created the rescue instrument throughout the pandemics to make sure that even those funding rounds that couldn't be closed could come to a successful end. Just to show a little number, we get traction. We were created in 2016. In 2017, you can see there was some investments, but that has grown dramatically. I don't know the number for 2020, but the traction that our startups have gotten is impressive. Now let's move to the European Health Catapult. I'm really proud on that business plan competition that we have created in EIT Health, but also with support of some great partners. And Cap Digital, Medical Valley have been already mentioned. They have been instrumental to really create and drive that competition that is now one of the most recognized competitions in the healthcare environment in Europe. We have supported, in the meantime, 189 startups that made it into the semifinals and beyond. But of course, many, many more have pitched in the regional selection events. 5 years of existence, that's actually not too bad. More than 250 investors that we have involved so far. But if I look to the list of participants of the next 3 days, this number has now grown very much. So these 250 investors have participated in person previously, but now through the online edition, our outreach is much higher. And that also is true for the community. How does it work? We have a regional pre-selection. All the startups have gone through that. I think also some of the jury members have contributed in the regional pre-selection. Then the winners, the 2 winners per category in MedTech, BioTech, and Digital Health in each region proceed to the semifinals. That's where we are now. And then 50% of each category will proceed to the final. And a few years ago, we decided that already in the semifinals, we want to get investors involved. And that turned out to be very powerful to ensure that startups get the right visibility also to investors. Now, this year, we can't have the semifinals in person, but I'm very proud that we managed to get a very professional edition that is held online. And thanks also Annemarie for the great moderation. Just a brief overview on the startups. You will see all of them pitching in the next 3 days. Looking back to last year, we had amazing finals in Paris with more than 1,000 participants. That is not possible this year, but also the online participation is really huge. The finals, also to have a look in the future, the finals will happen on December 3rd embedded in our series of online summits. So we have 4 days, and the last day will only focus on the EIT Health Catapult. So very much looking forward also to this huge event. That's how it looked last year in person, where we had the awarding ceremony in the City Hall of Paris. That won't be possible this year. Almost everything will happen online without maybe some exceptions. So we might also get some visibility that is physical and tangible, but to get more insights and provide more insights on that, I would like to hand over to Anna Badurska, the lady that together with Anna Werner and other colleagues has organized the whole European Health Catapult. Thank you so much. Looking forward to great pitches, to great interactions. And now over to you, Anna.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Kurt. It is my great pleasure to lead the Catapult competition and today to present the awards of the competition itself. So first of all, the 7 finalists who will win today, they will further compete in the EIT Health Summit in December for cash prizes of a total value of 210,000 euro. More to that, they will stand an outstanding opportunity to pitch their solution to the whole EIT Health, one of the largest healthcare communities worldwide. The winner of the Alex Casta Audience Award will see their logo displayed on the New York Times Square Nasdaq Tower. It will be seen by millions of citizens, patients, and healthcare professionals in New York, and of course, globally, thanks to the power of the social media. Before the final in December, also today's semi-finalists are standing chances to get wonderful prizes from Catapult sponsors. We are excited that this year we joined forces with leading global healthcare players. So happy to welcome on board Amazon Cloud Services, leader in on-demand cloud computing. Amazon will provide a credit to the cloud and bank of technical and business training. L3S Partnership and Vries Group are global life science executive search consultancies. They will be consulting the winners in building high-performing executive teams. LallianSe is hospital-based life science integrator. It joins us to accelerate the winner in market entry with insights in strategy and regulatory. And last but not least, McDermott, Will & Emery, one of the largest legal law firms in US and globally. It will bring the winners a legal consultancy in licensing, IP, and transaction matters. So thank you again to all partners for backing the Catapult teams in their scale-up. Your in-kind prices of total value equaling over 800,000 euro will surely contribute to disrupt the European healthcare scene. And thank you very much, sponsors. Thank you, Kurt. And I'm very happy to hand it over to Anne-Marie for further exciting parts of today's agenda.
Thank you so much, Anna and Kurt. And of course, Kurt, we will see you later during the awards ceremony again. Now, what is it like to finance a European life sciences company via the public market? Our first keynote speaker knows all the ins and outs. Please welcome the Director of Kempen & Co. Life Sciences and Healthcare, Frederik Gorter de Vries. Let's switch to Frederik.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for this introduction. I would like to give you an introduction to Kempen, an European life science bank active for all European life science companies who want to do something on the capital markets, be it in Europe or in the US. I will first start with an introduction on how we work, then we'll provide you some background on the life science capital markets for European life science companies. And then to close, I will provide some insights in how to go public and what this entails. About Kempen, we are a franchise of a larger bank, of a Dutch-listed private bank for Landschot, who thought in 2005 we should go into life sciences. Well, since then, with the larger team, of course, we did over 135 transactions across the whole spectrum of life sciences, be it biotechnology, diagnostics, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, specialty pharmaceuticals, but also more in healthcare, positive cash flow transactions. But fair to say that the majority has been in biotech, which were all loss-making. Our team consists of an industrial, financial, and scientific background, where a lot of people also have PhDs and MSCs. Myself, I have a background in biopharmaceutical sciences from Leiden University. Well, what we do in the end is we connect the companies towards our global network of specialists and generalist investors, be it in Europe, other parts of the world, Israel, but also, of course, the US. What we do is offer support from start to finish in any M&A or ECM transaction to make sure that you can get the monies in to further fund your research. How are we positioned within the European life science landscape? We are very proud of the research team that we have, currently covering over 50 life science companies throughout Europe, some of them listed within Europe and some of them listed within in the US. We have 5 dedicated securities analysts together with 3 specialist salespersons all day on the road, be it virtual now, to connect investors with companies from our network. We also have a conference, guides that come out every half a year to make sure that we can provide all insights on our coverage companies towards the investors. If you look at the transactions that we did in the last 12 months, we can divide it into the US part. So those are European companies being listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, where you see some larger names from CureVac, BioTech, Argenx, who went public or did follow-on transactions on that stock exchange. We also worked for numerous European listed companies, where the last one was the French company Sensorion, but also worked on several transactions in the Nordics and even in Spain for a company Horizon. We also had some activities on the corporate finance side, so pure on the advisory, where I can name the SPEC listing of Emetics, as well as strategic advisory work for Eritech, and some block trades for Inventiva and Argenx in our dealing room. If we then look at what is currently on the mind of investors, it is interesting to see that there's a rising interest of digital healthcare, which grew by 155% since last year. The survey was taken in the beginning of the year, just after the start of COVID. So what you also see is an immense increase in the demand for diagnostics, 95%. Some other highlights are that investors do have a very much interest for oncology companies, which is not new and also not interesting anymore. But you do see that the autoimmune space is now getting increasingly important for them. We bring this survey to companies as well as investors every year to provide some insights on what is hot and what is not in the market. We then go into the life sciences capital markets. Always a good one to start with is the number of capital raised by European life science companies. It started, or it was in 2018, 1.8 billion, and we thought that it had a good rise in the last couple of years towards 3 billion in 2019. But fair to say that 2019 has been an unprecedented year so far, raising until year to date over $4.2 billion. So that is a pretty nice amount, and we do not expect it to stop for the rest of the year. So this will increase even more. If you look further into the different regions, there you see that a big part is coming from the Nordics region, where there are a lot of companies listed and also very active on the capital markets. If we talk about IPOs, which is, I think, for today an important topic, then people know it, but we thought it might be good to put it into perspective also, and provide you with some numbers. In Europe, there are not so many IPOs, so we can't give this picture for the European IPOs, but we can give it for US IPOs, where you see that there's a clear seasonality, always starting in the beginning of the year with the IPO window just after the JP Morgan conference. Then it goes down a bit in March and April. Then there's up to the summer and next IPO window. And then in the second half of the year, there's also an IPO window. This year, this data is from 2015 to 2019. And this year was already a bit atypical, but we saw that the IPO window maybe even didn't close in July and August due to the corona crisis in April and May, which put a lot of pressure on the financing of life science companies and other companies listed on the stock exchange. If we then move to an overview of what stage do you need to be in to become listed, there we plotted all the different European life science IPOs, be it on the Nasdaq stock exchange on the left or on a European stock exchange. And what we did not expect, but what came out of this analysis, is that the number of IPOs in late stage development, which we defined as phase 2 or phase 3, is strikingly similar. That in the end, it is about 80% of the companies being in phase 2 or phase 3 development when they go to the stock exchange. And especially in the US, we have seen quite some exceptions to this, but all these exceptions are companies with cutting-edge technology platforms, to name some: Procure, CRISPR, or Freeline Therapeutics, which successfully listed in the US. In Europe, it is not really seen that preclinical companies go to the stock exchange. However, phase 1 is possible, especially when moving into the phase 2 studies. If we then look at the distribution of subsectors across European life science companies, we have our own index, like the Nasdaq BioTech, which we call the Kempen Life Sciences Index, consisting of 150 European companies active in the life sciences space. And here you can see that if you look at the composition by subsector counted by number of companies, around 30% of the number is coming from biotech companies, and what is it, 6% from medtech, and a little over 7% from diagnostics. The rest is all from the larger life science companies. So not the big pharma, which we excluded, but companies who are also cash generative. And this is even, the biotech segment is even smaller, looking at the market cap, which makes sense because I think we all know that the biotech companies are most of them in a startup phase, and therefore have a rather small market cap still. If you then move to this picture, which is showing a very nice indicator of how long does it take to get to an IPO. There, for the EU companies, we see that this has grown from about 9 years to to about 6 years in 2015, towards 13, 14, 16 years now, to go from inception to IPO on a stock exchange in the EU. On the other hand, in the US, we have seen that it steadily declined towards only 5 years. So currently, a European life science company has a median time towards listing of only 5 years. But it's a huge difference with the European stock exchange, where most of the time the companies need to be much more mature before going to the stock exchange. Key reason for this is, in our view, the appetite of mainly US specialist investors for risk, and therefore companies can go earlier to the stock exchange already. And also the funding is much bigger there. The companies can get more funding and therefore move faster towards the stock exchange. If we then move into the last chapter, I would like to provide you some highlights on when can you go public and what should be done to do that. This overview plots the whole spectrum of companies going from seed stage, which I think most of you are now in or just have passed, towards the VC PE stage. I haven't plotted all the companies here because there are not so many of them, or there are a lot of them and not many of them listed. But then moving into more to the right, the company becomes more mature, and then it becomes an option to go for an IPO and raise public equity. And if you move along the spectrum, then convertible debt or even straight debt comes more to the right, where straight debt is only for the cash generating big pharma companies, and convertible debt is something that starts as soon as a company starts selling their product, but might be still negative in cash flows. What are the benefits of being a listed company? This is not an exhaustive list, but we think there are many, many benefits of being a listed company. Well, the first one is that it validates and values your company. As newspapers will write about you, investors will know about you, and people are talking about the company and how it is performing. Also, the capital markets offers capital to fund growth, which is, I think, the most obvious one. Then it enhances your public profile by journalists and other people writing about the company. If you look at the price of the capital, the cost of the capital, then it is the cheapest cost of capital. It's difficult to put it in an exact number, but when you go to venture financing, you are easily going into the 25+% cost of capital, where a listed capital is somewhere between the 10 and the 15, depending on your risk profile. But it provides market-based ways to incentivize management and or employees by using warrants or stock options. A very nice one is that it provides a new currency to pay for acquisitions. What do I mean with that sentence? Is that you can pay for companies in shares, that you do not have to own or to have the cash to pay a certain company, but you can offer your own share, and then it's only your own shareholder base who has to agree with it, and then you can take over that company without using a single dollar. It creates exit opportunities for existing shareholders, which is a very important point because all VC funds or most VC funds have a fund life, but I think all VCs in the end want to exit. I think a nice example here is for Argenix, a company that went in 2014 to the Brussels Stock Exchange and moved towards Nasdaq a couple of years later. In the meantime, Kempen was one of the banks that facilitated the offloading of VC shareholders for them. And in the meantime, this created a dollar value of over 2 billion in exit for the former VC shareholders. Last but not least, it gives easier access to newer shareholders. As a listed company, your profile of a company determines who wants to be your shareholder. And in the end, that needs to move because your company will progress towards a more mature company. And therefore, the shareholder base needs to also adapt to that. Well, then the difference between what has been in the past companies that went public, then it all was about science, the proof of concept, and blockbuster indication. I think if we look at present companies, it's all about the business, what products, what pipeline, what management do you have, the proof of relevance, but also niche busters and not anymore blockbusters. Then last one, I have to speed up a bit. What are the key elements for a successful IPO? There should be market interest. External validation is a very important point from third parties. Technology, it should be differentiated from competitors, but also protected by IP. And the future development should be crystal clear, as well as the use of proceeds. Well, then to round up with this slide is an important message I want to give you, that if you want to go to the stock exchange, it has been very, very, very normal that you have a pre-commitment in the IPO of around 34, so in the range of 40 to 50%. Think about this when raising money, that in the end you need support to go public. Then I would like to conclude with this slide, an overview of our transactions. Thank you for your attention.
Frederik, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. Julie Rachline is Integrator CEO at LallianSe, and Kerry Ritz is CEO at Great River Ventures. They've used their years of experience to look at the early relationship between founders and investors, and they have compiled a list of 10 questions that every founder should ask an investor. Please share your tips with us, Julie and Kerry.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here today. Hi, Kerry. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, Julie. Bonjour.
Even though we have a lot of French attendees, I'm not sure we'll be able to do the speech in French.
No, I suspect not. Maybe, and actually post-Brexit, we may have to.
Let's try that next year, Kerry.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to be here today. Maybe, Kerry, could you introduce yourself? And then
I think it's relevant. So I've been a CEO of 3 startups in a variety of sectors, none of which are in healthcare. Currently, I'm a board director and an advisor to a range of startups across Europe. I also help investors, VCs, with their portfolio companies, and I also help them with deal flow. And on the converse side, I also help entrepreneurs to get an edge in either raising money or doing business, which is why I'm excited to be talking about this topic this morning.
As for me, I'm CEO of LallianSe, which is a life science integrator, and of Braintail, a digital brain prediction company. Aside from this, I have the pleasure to be working a lot with EIT Health, to be with Kerry, part of the evaluators board, and also to chair the access to finance activities within the EIT Health activity. As for me, I'm actually a PhD by training, so I'm a scientist at the very beginning of my career, and then I joined, the dark side by being a VC, executive search consultant, and now entrepreneur, and notably in charge of all the investor relation perspective. And this is actually what we'd like to share with you today with Kerry, was maybe forget about everything you know about how to behave and how to raise money. So it's, of course, just a teasing perspective, but we've been working with Kerry on trying to define a few questions and share with you our experience, both from the VC or from the entrepreneur side, of what you could or should do for the, I would say, avoid the lies during fundraising. And maybe you definitely want to do that before calling Kempen to go public. Kerry, let's start the success prescription.
Yeah, I think the first point is to think about really what you're doing, and it's not about raising money. I think if you do the math, 1% of companies are likely to be successful in raising money with investors, which means 99% of the meetings you have are unlikely to be successful from a money perspective. Indeed. But that doesn't mean that those meetings are not valuable. In fact, those meetings are your best chance to actually get feedback, get learning, get understanding from people who see hundreds, if not thousands, of companies every year.
So that's about redefining success. Successful investor meeting is not about getting money. It is, but just 1%. It's also about getting insights and building a relationship with the investor.
I think the key message there is your goal for those meetings is learning, not closing.
Absolutely. Second thing is have clear expectations. You should basically know your customer. It's the KYC approach. If you're targeting investor, you need to know who you're talking to, and you need to clearly work on this ahead of any meeting you have.
I think this is one of the biggest mistakes early stage founders make, is they get a list of investors across Europe. So they'll build an Excel spreadsheet, they'll collect sources from various places, they'll come up with a list from A to Z of every investor that they've read about, they've heard about, that they've been referred to, and they systematically then send emails to all those people. And actually, probably half of them aren't even relevant. They're not at the right stage of the company. They're often not in the right sector. They have funds that actually aren't making investments anymore. And actually, they haven't done their homework.
That's another thing. Once you have the first meeting, meaning you've done your homework and you have defined your expectations, when you're pitching, don't say sentences that don't have any numbers.
This is one of the topics that a lot of investors really get annoyed about, because they're looking to founders that actually have a good handle on their business, whether it's early stage or late stage. These are data-driven. Most businesses these days are data-driven, and there's an expectation that the founders know their numbers intimately. So, for example, I will ask a founder, so what progress have you made to date? Or what's your status? And founder says, oh, I've had lots of meetings with really interested companies who are really interested in our technology. Oh, lots of companies. Well, how many? Who are they? Which geographies? How many meetings have you had? Are you the first meeting, the second meeting? Which department? So the key there is not to talk in generalities. Instead, it's to say, we've talked with 3 German pharmaceutical companies. We've talked to this department. We're on our 3rd meeting with this group, and we expect, for example, to sign an LOI or a contract at the end of this month. So being very, very specific around what's happening, who you're doing it with, and what the numbers are.
Make the deck specific to each investor. It's the follow-up of the clear expectations, but it's also about being sure that the message you're delivering will be adapted to the people you're talking to. And this is clearly something that everyone is not really focusing on, but that clearly it's actually real life experience. If you don't prepare the meeting, if you don't have a deck specific to the people you're talking to, then what happens is that you're just not being efficient in the whole meeting and you're making everyone lose their time.
I mean, it's effectively sales 101. Now, I know a lot of founders
That's correct.
In biotech come out of a science background. They don't have a commercial or sales orientation, but it goes back to the point I made earlier about doing your homework. Well, it also means about who you target in advance. It also means you need to think about what you're saying to that particular investor that will make them interested. So, you know, you tailor the deck to the investments they've made, not as a firm, but even as a partner in a firm, because a partner in a firm will quite often be sitting on the board of a specific number of companies. So what are the nature of the companies that they've made investments in? What are the nature of the companies that of the boards that they're sitting on? All those things can be incorporated into the deck. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes some thought, but that's the point. That's what investors are looking for. They're not looking for the generic deck that you've done, that you're sending out to 100 investors and you're having 100 meetings with the same deck each time. They want to know that actually you've thought about why you should invest, or an investor should make an investment in that company. And doing your homework actually puts you in the top 5%, because 95% of companies won't even make the effort.
Absolutely. And this is, I mean, the job has to be done for the investment firm, of course, but also for the investor as a human being. Knowing the person you're talking to, his or her experience, background is also very important information to have and to basically implement onto the presentation. Linked, of course, adapt your vocabulary to your audience. If you're a very early stage biotech company, and if for any reason you have the chance to be discussing with a generalist investor, you may want to be light about science, at least on the specific aspects of science.
Yeah, because particularly at the early stage, you're trying to get the investor excited about the opportunity. There'll be a time when you'll go through, you know, deep due diligence, either from a science perspective or from a technical perspective. But that's not necessarily the purpose of that first meeting. As we said earlier, the job of the first meeting is to learn and take advantage of that opportunity. The closing and the selling will come at a much later stage if you do your job right in tailoring the presentation and engaging that investor with the opportunity.
Another very interesting, I would say, hint shared by Kerry is how to spend the time of a meeting. Let's say you have 30 minutes. Make sure your presentation doesn't take much more than like 33% of the time.
So 30 minutes, you're lucky to get 30 minutes as an early stage company, but it's actually not even 30 minutes. It's actually probably closer to 25, because by the time you've done your introductions, set things up, you've lost 5 minutes, and so you're now down to 25 minutes. The mistake most entrepreneurs make is they think they need to fill 25 minutes with a PowerPoint presentation, 25 slides going through, talking through, no engagement. As I said earlier, the purpose of the meeting is to learn. So if you actually structure the presentation, the 25 minutes, 8 minutes of that 25 should be around the presentation, and the 2/3, the other 18 or 19 minutes should be around you, the entrepreneur, asking questions to the investor. And that's the really, really key thing. So for example, first question, you know, you ask an investor, you're a busy investor, you see hundreds of companies. Why did you take this meeting? You know, why was this interesting? Yes, you may have been introduced by a friendly a founder or another investor or someone helping on deal flow, but what was it that actually took your attention? Remember, these are these investors see hundreds of companies a year, so explore their knowledge. You know, you've gone through the presentation and you're having a dialogue with the investor. So for example, at the end of it, you can ask the investor, do you think this deck actually reflects the business that I've described to you? You know, so because remember, when you present to an investor, that investor has to sell you internally to his partners or his colleagues or her colleagues. So you have to make it very clear. You have to understand, what is it the investor's interested in? So you could ask the investor, how would you describe our business to your colleagues? because if the investor can't articulate your proposition, then there's no way they're ever going to be able to sell it against all the other businesses that are being presented by his partners and their colleagues.
No, I was about to say, Kerry, that would be interesting to have feedbacks from the audience if they are trying this question during the next or the upcoming meetings they have with VCs, as how do VC react, as how to engage them, and does this kind of question work? And that would be very interesting to have feedback from the audience if that's possible. And actually it relates to the next 3 points that we have in terms of success prescription for raising money is about asking questions, and asking questions. It's really about engaging into the relationship with the investors and make sure you are the one in demand at first because you're the one asking for the meeting, but then make sure you're also trying to understand who you're talking to, their process, their feedback about your project, your company, because it may even be insightful for you. I mean, VCs have spent so many hours in meeting management team, projects, corporates, whatever. They may really bring value to the deck improvement or to the next milestone you should be working on.
Absolutely. It's the best chance. You'll never get a chance again to actually have access to that depth of knowledge and depth of understanding. And most investors will want to be helpful. They'll actually want to invest in your business. They'll want you to be successful. So take advantage of that. Ask them for their opinion. Ask them, what am I underestimating as a founder? So this is probably my first and perhaps only startup. So I'm at a disadvantage. So ask people actually, what is it I'm underestimating, or what am I being naive about? Be honest, be open. Investors will tell you, will give you answers.
And in the last minute or so that we have, the final recommendation we could do with Kerry is try to reverse the mode of interaction with the investor and try maybe to be an opportunity. Maybe by, I don't know, offering them the opportunity to have more insights about your environment, to have to be part of your adventure, and whatever, but try to think of you or the project by being an opportunity to the investor.
I think the one of the rules as a founder, probably rule number one, is in terms of building your company or building your startup, is to learn fast. It's about speed. And so take every meeting that you have as an opportunity to learn, adapt, get some feedback, make changes. It's just like running experiments. You have a hypothesis, you run the experiments, you get some feedback, you get some learning, you do it again, you tailor it. You keep doing that each and every time. So at the end of every meeting, for example, you'll get that feedback. You'll tweak your presentation, you'll tweak your communication. But it's about learning. And that's the essence of any startup journey, whether it's in biotech, whether it's in digital health or med tech. That's the essence of what you're trying to do as a founder.
That's a great conclusion. Thank you so much to the whole EIT Health and Catapult team, and have a great 3 days of a program.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Julie and Kerry. Some great practical tips there, and might even happen that some of the pitches will add some more facts and figures in there.